Hello, so today we're going over um, AppArmor and HTTPS. My presentation for this week, Julian Reyes. Today's agenda is AppArmor security system, HTTPS protocol, aka hypertext transfer protocol secure, Internet Information Services IIS, and Apache Tomcat. So we'll start off with AppArmor, which is a Linux-based security system that protects against threats and attacks, both internal threats and external threats and attacks. It has mandatory access control, or MAC, which restricts access to certain things like files or operations. You can set this to specific people to have specific access to files. AppArmor uses a logging system, which can be very beneficial to the security, to troubleshooting, to a bunch of aspects of a server or an operating system. It can be used to look at logs, see if there's any unusual behavior of a possible attack or a application malfunction. Use of profiles to determine what applications requires, and the command used to view AppArmor profile status would be sudo AppArmor_status. Next, we have HTTPS protocol, otherwise known as Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. Most people know HTTP, but HTTPS, that stands for secure. So first of all, it uses encryption to secure communication. It uses the exchange of TSL, and SSL certificates to verify users and provide identity and to protect their data. TSL stands for Transport Socket Layer, I believe, and Secure Socket Layer certificates. These are like used in what they call a handshake to verify that the person that you're trying to communicate with is the person that they claim to be to authenticate them. So it encrypts communications between websites and web browser. Like I said, it makes it so the attacker intercepts the data, then the attacker cannot read the data. So if an attacker is intercepting the communication between your website and your web browser, they cannot understand the data that is being communicated, because it looks like mumbo jumbo to them. HTTPS protocol can use asymmetric keys, different keys like public key and private key, which have different functions. Use of cryptographic methods to know if someone tries to tamper with data. So this one goes along with the encryption of communication. So if someone is trying to nab your data, intercept it while you're communicating with the web browser or website, you will be able to know that someone is trying to tamper with that data. Besides the fact they won't be able to read that data because it is encrypted. Next, we have Internet Information Services, otherwise known as IIS. IIS is a scalable web infrastructure, meaning it can go with any size business server. It can grow to be with that size. So the architecture allows administrators to customize the web server, removing or installing modules. So basically that means the web server is very customizable. The administrator can do what he or she wants to do with the web server, and can also take out what they would like to take out from the web server in the sense of modules. So it allows admins to remove functions, functions that are unused, reducing risk. So like I said in the other segment, the web server is very customizable, meaning the administrator can choose to remove the functions that they don't want, reducing the residual risk of an attack. So less functions there are, the less functions there are, the less risk there is. Administrators can choose what they want to install on the server. For example, bare minimum. This goes with what I just said. If the administrator chooses to install the bare minimum, then the risk exposure will be significantly low because there won't be much to attack. It will also be much easier to secure the functions that the administrator chooses to keep. Also, we have access protection, URL authorization rules, and request filtering. Request filtering makes sure only valid requests are processed. So no invalid requests will be processed. They will all be filtered out. Admin tools to help manage servers. There are some admin tools to help manage servers, like the command line, which can help manage functionality and other things. Next we have Tomcat, otherwise known as Apache Tomcat. Apache, yeah. So this is open source, freely open to use by anyone, modify by anyone. It's basically just completely open. It can run on many operating systems, including Linux, Windows, and Mac. For our purposes, we're going to be using it on Linux server. Yeah, so it's accessible to anyone, and it can run on multiple operating systems. It helps the server run more efficiently. Tomcat can be used to help the server run more efficiently, and it gives a lot of security bonuses like SSL encryption, access control, different authentication methods, and login capabilities. Access control, you can control who has access to the different files and stuff like that. Login capabilities, you can log unusual behavior, troubleshoot if something crashes, it'll be logged, and then troubleshoot the problem later. Different authentication methods to make sure the person is who they are, and authenticate their identity. Next we have the management console. This can be used to manage applications, like deploying applications, or undeploying them, which can be very useful. Using multiple Tomcat instances can implement load balancing. So this is worded wrong, but using multiple Tomcat instances implements load balancing. So it provides better redundancy and also better fault tolerance. Regular updates and security patches. So you would like to regularly update Tomcat so that you have the most up-to-date security patches for known threats. Lastly, we have hardening recommendations. So my Linux server with Tomcat recommendations are to use SSL encryption for secure communication. Like I said earlier, they do the handshake, which validates and authenticates, make sure who the person you are trying to communicate is, who they are, and also encrypts your communication. So if it's intercepted, it would have to go through probably like a major decryption process. it will show up as mumbo jumbo most of the time. To implement access controls, uh, to monitor, not to monitor, but to control who has access to what, least privilege, stuff like that. So you have the least privileges to access a file. Only those who need to access the file have access to the file. The other one would be to keep Tomcat updated. Security for the latest security patches, which can help with all threats that have been found out. Monitor logs for abnormal behavior. Lastly, we have Windows Server with IIS. First is account management. Use strong password. Implement strong password policy on our servers. This is really important for major servers companies. Weak passwords are easy to crack, so implementing a strong password policy will make the passwords hard to crack. Like I said, in Linux server, to implement least privilege, not giving users access to certain things, and also file permissions, which go with least privilege. Not giving file permissions to non-root user accounts, stuff like that, to non-administrators. Configure the firewall rules to restrict traffic in or out. This is important for not allowing traffic that you don't want into your server or traffic that you don't want going out. Lastly, we'll want to implement security headers to protect against web vulnerabilities.